Hello, this is Angelia, and you are listening to or watching the podcast Why You Do What You Do. The podcast that helps you try and figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. Talks about human development and psychology. Now, last time we were talking about Ingrid Bergman, who back in the day was very scandalous. She was notorious because, she left her husband and her daughter and hooked up with another director, and they had a family, and he was married at the time, and she got pregnant by him while he was married, and it was a whole big scandal. Like I said, nowadays, just everyday happening. But back in the day, it was a big deal. Ingrid Bergman's story is a dramatic reminder of the impact of cultural change on personal attitudes and behavior. And as like I say, back then, that was a big deal. That was a scandal. Nowadays, this happens every day. And like I said, except for people who look at the National Enquirer, it might be on the front page one day and on the back the next and then gone. So nowadays, it's not that scandalous. It happens every day. The furor over her affair with Rossellini may seem strange today, when cohabitation, extramarital sex, divorce, and out-of-wedlock birth, all of which were shocking 50 years ago, have become more common. Because, like I said, that's not that big a deal today. It happens all the time. Now there are still people who, are very conservative people who, still think these things should never happen. But they do. Still, now as then, personal choices made in young adulthood establish a framework for the rest of life. So the choices you make when you're young, let's just say between 20 and 30, are going to establish the pattern for the rest of your life. So this is why it's so important to instill in our young people critical thinking. Teach them how to be wise, how to have common sense, and remember and learn from other people's mistakes and their mistakes. These things will help them go a long way in their life. Did Bergman change with maturity and experience? On the surface, she seemed to keep repeating the same cycle again and again. And that's what a lot of people do. And a lot of people accuse me of that. But it's like, well, no, there were, I didn't just accept things. There were, intercessions that had to be made and taken care of before I would consider going back into, a situation. So, but some people, just keep repeating the same mistakes and expecting a different thing to happen. And that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different thing to happen. If, like, say in a relationship, if you love someone but they're not that great to you, then you need to lay down some law and say, well, clearly if you can't see the error of your ways, we need to go to counseling and get this hashed out. And you're well within your right to do that, because everyone should feel, everyone should feel loved and respected in the relationship. That saying in the Bible about unequally being yoked, you got to be two pulling together to move the cart. If one's pulling, the other one's dragging, then you're going to go in circles and nothing's ever going to come of it. So, it's important to teach our youngsters that they need to think and have some critical thinking and common sense when it comes to life choices. Yet, in her handling of her second and third divorces, she seemed calmer, more pragmatic, and more in command. That's because she had been through it before. We learn from our mistakes. And as we get older, things are not such a big deal. When you're young, you're still emotional. You come from your adolescence, where you're just full of hormones and a hormonal mess and an emotional mess, into young adulthood, you're still pretty emotional, and you will calm down as you get older. So that's probably good news to some of y'all. Still, her basic approach to life remained the same. It's 91 degrees. It was nice this morning. You know, I thought, oh, good, we're going to have maybe a break. No, it's now, the real feels up over 90. We got the morning on again. So, you know, I feel like my brain is just, you know, I have enough trouble after the stroke, you know, trying to get words from here to here. But, you know, she's going to have to bear with me. She did what she felt she must, come what may. And a lot of us do. And, you know, that's not a bad way to be. If you're coming from center, doing what you feel like you should be doing, no one can really criticize you on that. Because at least you tried. You did what you thought you need to be doing. Because there's so many people in the world who never take a chance. Who never, you know, reach out and go for what they want. And they're good at criticizing other people who do. But, you know, at least you can say you tried if you do. I did the best I could and, you know, got this far, couldn't get any further, but, you know, at least I bothered. Ugh. Does personality stop growing when the body does? No. Or does it keep developing throughout life? Yes, it does, if you allow it to. And as I say, there are some people that are ignorant. They choose to be ignorant. They don't want to learn anything. They don't want to challenge any beliefs or anything. That's how they want to be. And if that's how you want to be, that's how you will be. So, you know. Personality development. 4 different views. Whether personality primarily shows stability or change depends in part on how we study and measure personality. 4 approaches to adult psychosocial development are represented by normative stage models, the timing of events model, traits models, and typological models. And these are all models that a scientist has studied and come up with. These are all, you know, theories of personality development. Normative stage models portray a typical sequence of age-related development that continues throughout the adult lifespan, much as in childhood and adolescence. Normative crisis research has found major predictable changes in adult personality. So, by that, you know, model, you change in a normal pattern for everybody, you know. The timing of events model holds that change is related not so much to age as to the expected or unexpected occurrence and timing of important life events. This model emphasizes individual and contextual differences. So, according to the timing of events model, it's about what happens to you. It's about your experiences, and, you know, this person might not have this experience, so they don't grow in this way, whereas someone else does and they do. So, again, that one would be depending on your life. Trait models focus on mental, emotional, temperamental, and behavioral traits or attributes such as cheerfulness and irritability. Trait-based studies find that adult personality changes very little, and that's just looking at a person's traits. If you were happy when you were a kid, chances are you're going to be happy when you're older. You know, if you're miserable as a kid, chances are you're going to be miserable when you get older. You know. Typological models identify broader personality types or styles that represent how personality traits are organized within the individual. These models, too, tend to find considerable stability in the personality. And again, personality is basically that. The things we like in others' behavior that we choose to model. That's your personality. You know? You saw somebody and they had cool hats and you liked the cool hat, so you decided to wear the cool hat. You tried this drink because so-and-so had this drink and you liked it, and so now you like that drink. Personality is choices. That's what it really is. Your personality are choices you have made based on your individual unique experience. So everybody's personality is different. Normative stage models. Erik Erikson believed that personality changes throughout the life. Variations on Erikson's theory grew out of pioneering studies by George Valliant and Daniel Levinson. These normative stage models, all of which originally were based on research with men, say, not all of them were done with ladies, so hold that everyone follows the same basic sequence of age-related social and emotional changes. And of course, that's not always going to be true because we all don't have the same exact life. If we all had the same exact life, then that would be true. But we don't. So, all these theories, have some work to do. They're good theories. But again, all of it boils down to experiences. The experiences you have in your life are what shape you. The changes are normative in that they seem to be common to most members of a population, and they emerge in successive periods or stages, sometimes marked by emotional crisis that pave the way for further development. And I know you've heard that, the Lord hones you like a pearl. The more you're irritated, the more is rubbed on you, the better you shine as you go along. And unfortunately, that is also true in life. It's like they talk about, the best people have worse pasts, and that's probably so because they had so much problem in the past, they learned how to be a good person later on. Erikson, intimacy versus isolation. Now, there are people who like to be social. There are people who are loners. And I'm not going to get into the psychology on that, but usually in psychology, loners are not considered a good thing. There's usually some narcissistic wounds there and, some sociopathy. So, we're not going to go into that right now. We will later. But, right now we're just going to talk about intimacy versus isolation. Erikson's sixth stage of psychosocial development. Oh my gosh, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, I hate that. Bless me, Lord. Bless me, Lord. Oh, that was a deep one. Intimacy versus isolation is the major issue of young adulthood. If young adults cannot make personal commitments to others, said Erikson, they may become isolated and self-absorbed. So he does touch on this a little bit. If you can't make good connections with other people, if you don't have people skills, then you might become isolated and self-absorbed. So, other people are going to look at you and think, wow, But, again, it's a problem in your development. However, they do need some isolation to reflect on their lives. And everyone needs it. Everybody needs some alone time to reflect on your life and figure out, where you're going after that. As they work to resolve conflicting demands of intimacy, competitiveness, and distance, they develop an ethical sense, which Erikson considered the mark of the adult. And that should be. Ethics is the mark of maturity. There are so many adults in the world today who don't have ethics. It's all about them. They are the textbook definitions of narcissistic sociopaths. All about them, all about theirs. Gimme, money, my. Okay, so these people are stuck in a pre-adult stage of thinking. So if you're selfish and you don't have any ethics, you're willing to do unto others before they do unto you, you're not an adult. You might physically be one, but maturationally, mentally, emotionally, you're not one. Sorry. Intimate relationships demand sacrifice and compromise, because they do. If you're going to be in an intimate relationship with someone, you're going to have to give up something, and that might be time, that might be effort, and you're going to have to make compromises because we are all unique individuals. We can't all have to have our way all the time, or there's not going to be a relationship, because you have to meet each other halfway. You know, like if one person thinks this way, the other person thinks this way, you're going to have to come together on some middle ground, you know, and that's part of being an adult and having a mature relationship, you know? It's just the facts there. Young adults who have developed a strong sense of self during adolescence are ready to fuse their identity with that of another person. And I know I did, because of a lot of horrible things that happened to me. I had a very strong sense of self as a young adult. And I wanted, you know, to be with another person that was kind of the same as me. You know, I've had varying degrees of success on that. But, you know, you find out that that's not going to be 100%. You know, this person might be like you in this way and that way and this way, but then they're very different from you in this way, and this way, which is a problem for you. So again, go back to that compromise and middle ground thing. And that is part of being in a mature relationship. Erikson distinguished sexual intimacies, which may take place in casual encounters, from mature intimacy with a capital I, which goes beyond mere sexuality, because being intimate doesn't mean having sex. Now that someone has coined that term, you know, being intimate, which is, you know, to them, I guess, a less provocative way of saying having sex. But intimacy is getting to know someone, you know, like that also getting to know you, getting like you know, all that thing. You're getting to know someone. You're becoming a part of their life, or allowing them to become a part of yours. You're allowing each other in to each other's space and becoming intimate. That has nothing to do with sex. That can be a part of intimacy, but it has nothing to do with sex. So intimacy with a capital I is, you know, being involved with the other person, being involved with their life. And I just had a discussion with someone not that long ago, talking about, you know, I need more intimacy from you, because, you know, they're going through some stuff, and I understand that, and trying to give them some space, but there are lines that you don't cross. So, you know, being intimate with your partner means give and take. Getting to know them, being involved with them, liking them, and allowing them in to feel the same way, you know, about you. One-sided relationships are the worst. I worked at, you know, a college group in a counseling center, and you see a lot of that. People coming in, and you start digging in there a little bit, and it's a one-sided relationship. This person is all in, this person not so much, because they got walls and boundaries, and, you know, they're really basically a loner who wants to have someone there next to them. And that's not going to work. Excuse me. Not until a person is ready for mature intimacy, said Erikson, can true genitality occur. What he defined as mutual orgasm in a loving heterosexual relationship. Well, according to that, you can't really have sexual intimacy unless you have true intimacy. Now, that just goes kind of with common sense. I have always felt that way about relationships. I don't like to get into casual sexual relationships. I feel like I want the person to be my friend to begin with, my best friend after that, and then, you know, my mate and my lover. So to me, that makes sense based on what I've learned. Because if you're just wanting casual sex, that's all you're getting, you know, and maybe some STDs. So, you know, don't think that's how you're going to start a relationship with somebody, because it's not going to be real unless they're a very enlightened person and you're a very enlightened person, and from that one sexual encounter you build this intimate relationship. That's a very rare thing. Most of the time when people are out having casual sex, they're not that into intimacy. You know, that's what they're after. And of course, heterosexual relationship, again, we know nowadays that the science is behind, there being other sexual choices. So, resolution of this stage results in the virtue of love. So, see, love is a virtue. There are people who think love makes you a sucker. I have met people like that. And they've tried to take advantage of me, but I'm not that dumb. But love should come from intimacy between two people. And you can say you love somebody all you want, but if you're not intimate with that person, if you are not involved in that person, and you're not allowing them to be involved in you, you don't know what the word love means. So before you go throwing that word around, make sure that you are invested in this person and that they are invested in you. Because, like I said, seen a whole lot of counseling going on with one-sided relationships, and that can't be fixed unless the other person wants to start participating in the relationship. Mutual devotion between partners who have chosen to share their lives, have children, and help those children achieve their own healthy development. So that's a goal in becoming a partner. When you becoming a partner, you supposed to be choosing to share your life with the other person. That involves merging with the other person. Yes, take his life, her life, combine it, share it together, and that is a healthy relationship. And then, like I say, you might want to decide to have children. So you're going to want that relationship to be healthy and stay healthy. And a lot of men get jealous of their own children. They don't want to admit that. But, when the children come along, the wife has to spend time feeding, cleaning, caring for the children. That takes time away from her time with the husband. Where the husband had been center of attention, he is no longer center of attention. The children are now center of attention. And a lot of men resent that and are jealous of that. And in the animal kingdom, we all know males who act like that, the woman runs them off pretty quick. That's why you see like cougars, tigers, things of that nature. There's no pride going on there. There's no pack going on there. She gets pregnant, she has sex with the male, she runs his ass off. And if a male comes near her den, she will attack him and run him off. So nature has kind of taken that to the high level on that. But men, don't be jealous of your children. The facts are, yeah, your wife had all that time when she didn't have them to dote on you, but now she has this responsibility, and then you should be participating in this responsibility. I made my husband participate in this responsibility because I'm like, oh no, you ain't gonna sit there while I do this all by myself. No, you go and participate in this. So don't feel that way. There's so many men who feel that way. Well, she has the kids and she don't need me anymore. Well, guess what? She didn't need you anyway. She chose you. You supposedly chose her. Supposed to be in this relationship together. So why don't you take an interest in the children and help raise the children? Invest yourself in the children as well. You might find out you like your little people you made. They're pretty cool. It ain't all about you. And again, to help those children achieve their own healthy development. So if you're not in a healthy developmental place, you're not going to be in the best healthy developmental place for those children, are you? And a lot of us grew up with that situation going on in our homes. The adult child, and you're parenting the parent, and that's not cool. I remember at the age of 9 when I realized, one of my parents was coming to me for advice, and I'm sitting here thinking, I'm a 9-year-old kid. Why are you asking advice of a 9-year-old kid when you're a grown adult? So I kind of figured some things out pretty young that this was not the best situation for me to be growing up in. Yeah, no. Right. The kids. A decision not to fulfill the natural procreative urge has serious consequences for development, according to Erickson. So there are people who choose not to have children, and according to him, that's a problem. His theory has been criticized for excluding single, celibate, homosexual, and childless people from his blueprint for healthy development, as well as for taking the male pattern of development and intimacy after identity as the norm. So, again, the females were kind of left out of things, and, a blanket response was put down on everybody. And now we know everybody's not the same, so you can't put those blanket responses down on everybody. However, we need to remember that Erickson developed his theory in the mid-20th century in a different societal context from the one in which we live now. So, it is a very different world from the 1950s. Things are different nowadays. Erickson heirs, Valliant and Levinson. In 1938, 268 18-year-old self-reliant and emotionally and physically healthy Harvard undergraduates were elected for the grant study. By the time they reached midlife, George Valliant saw a typical pattern. At age 20, many of the men were still dominated by their parents. During their 20s and sometimes their 30s, they achieved autonomy, married, had children, and deepened friendships. So that's how it should be. In your 20s, you start out still usually at home. And by the time you hit 30, you should be autonomous, out on your own, having a life, thinking about getting married and popping out some babies. And that's just how it normally goes. Somewhere between the 20s and the 40s, these men entered a stage of career consolidation. They worked hard at their careers and devoted themselves to their families. And now in India, they have actual, ways of doing things like that. In the 20s, you're supposed to be pursuing your higher education. In your 30s, you're supposed to be climbing the corporate ladder or, your career ladder, whichever you're choosing, and having your kids and raising your kids. And in your 40s, you're supposed to be perfecting your career or job and getting them little people, grown up and headed out into the world. And then in the 50s, you become teachers. You're supposed to teach everything you spent your, past 30 years of your life learning and honing. You're supposed to teach others. Then at age 60, you're allowed to retire. And the younger generation just supposed to support you. That would be something, but that's not going to happen here in the U.S. But it happens over there. Maybe to a lesser degree today, because things are changing over there too, and not for the better. Because there are Western places who have come in to some of these Eastern places where there were serious cultural beliefs and are now overriding those beliefs. Like, I don't want to support any stereotypes, but I've had several people in business positions from that area of the world who lie. They have no problem just lying to your face. And I call people out on the lie. There was one company who I'm not even going to name. I don't want to be getting sued. But their one employee lied to me. So then I talked to the manager over them. He straight up lied to me. And I said, hey, you know what? I know you're lying to me because here's the evidence I have right here. And then they were like, oh, well, I'm sorry you had that experience. That's not the experience we would like you to have with us. So he didn't even care about the fact that they just lied. And unfortunately, when people are being taught, customer service and things like that, they are being taught that it's okay to lie. Whereas before, their belief system might have been not okay to lie, don't do it. And they just are trying to catch up with the civilized world, and learning the wrong thing. So, you know, if your belief system taught you good things and the business world is telling you you forget those good things so you can succeed, don't listen to them because they're telling you wrong. They followed the rules, strove for promotions, and accepted the system, rarely questioning whether they had chosen the right woman or the right occupation. And, you know, a lot of people do that. They go through life doing what they think they're supposed to do. And then later on, that becomes a midlife crisis for them when they realize, oh crap, you know, I didn't do anything I wanted to do. I did what I was supposed to do. And then they, you know, get that younger woman and get that Corvette, as the joke goes. The excitement, charm, and promise they had radiated as students had disappeared. Of course, you know, like I said, by the time we're middle-aged, we're tired. We're not all that exuberant and young that we used to be. Now they were described as colorless, hardworking, bland young men in gray flannel suits. And isn't that a shame, you know, to be labeled that? But unfortunately, that can happen. That's why I say you got to pay attention to your life. Your life is your life. It's your biggest investment you got in yourself. So you need to make sure that you're doing the right thing at the right time. You know, don't just do something because everybody's doing it. We had a friend who got married like 2 months after we got married, and they hadn't even talked about getting married. They were dating a completely different person at the time, and then suddenly 2 months later they got married to this other person. And we were like, did you just get married because we did? You know, because yeah, that's not good. But you know, they're still together. They've had some problems and they've gone through some counseling and things too, but yeah, they're still together. So maybe it was meant to be. You know, who am I to say it wasn't? But that's where I'm going to leave you today. Hope this helped you figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. Please like and share this educational program so we can spread it around the world. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to help me out even more, go to my Patreon page and become a patron. That's all for now. Until next time.